All right, we're going to be looking at power tool safety, Unit 4. The vast majority of these rules you have already seen, you've already studied, but we're going to keep bringing them back because they're important. So even though we've already studied it, don't ignore it. So the other thing, this is a long one. I believe this one has 30 rules in it. Make sure you get your handout so you can follow along. All right, if you need to, pause the video, go get one, come back. All right? Okay, let's get started. Safety rule number 1. What is it? Read your paper. Always wear your eye protection. It's always going to be safety rule number 1. Number 2, you must have the instructor's permission to use the equipment. We already talked about that, so we're not going to go into too much detail on that one. Don't use any power tools unless you have been shown how to use them correctly and safely. Just because you know how to pick up a cordless drill and pull the switch doesn't mean you know how to use it. Talk to me first. Power equipment can only be used when the instructor's in the classroom, when I'm here. If I'm absent, you can't use it. If I have to go out in the hallway, you have to put them down. Only when I'm here. Only when I'm in the classroom. If you don't feel well or you can't concentrate, let me know. I understand. We have days. We all have days. I have days. That we just don't feel well. So let me know. We'll make other arrangements for you. Number 6, your hands must be dry, people. Your hands. When you're working around electricity, if you got wet hands and you grab a hold of a corded drill and you pull the trigger on it, you run the risk of getting electrical shock. Okay? Make sure everything's dry. When you approach a machine, make sure the person who used it before you has turned it off and it's come to a complete stop. Okay? Off and to a complete stop. That's 2 separate things. Turning it off is one thing, but that spindle could still be sitting there spinning. Wait until it comes to a complete stop. Number 8, check the cutting tool in the machine. Make sure it's sharp and in good condition. It does no good to put a drill bit in a drill or drill press if it's dull, because it won't cut. You might as well try to take a wood saw and try to cut a piece of sheet metal with it. You're not going to get it done. Number 9, make sure the cutting tools are installed correctly and properly adjusted for the work. Being installed is one thing, and properly adjusted is another. Putting them in, make sure they're vertical or insecure is one thing. But sometimes drill bits, you don't want them to go all the way through. So you slide them up a little bit. You've got a stop gauge on our new drill press. You can actually stop the drill bit from drilling all the way through your project. Cutting guards, stuff like that, all need to be adjusted correctly before you start working. Which actually leads us into number 10. Check to see if all the safety guards are in place and working properly. What's the rule about safety guards? You don't have permission to take them off, period. If a safety guard has to be taken off for a project to be worked on, for a process to be done, I do it. I am not putting your fingers or whatever in danger because we have to take the safety guard off. I don't want to have to make that phone call to your parents. Number 12, if the machine doesn't sound right or it doesn't seem to be working properly, don't use it. Turn it off. Have me come over, check it out. It may just be a simple thing. It might need to be repaired. But let me make that decision. 13. Sorry, I forgot to turn off my notifier. Use the machine for only what it's designed to do. Don't try to use the drill press as a router. Don't sit there and try to cut names with it. Don't try to use a screwdriver as a pry bar type thing. You know, we've heard this already. 14. If you make any adjustments or changes to the equipment, talk to me first. It may already be set to for somebody else, or we may need to make some special adjustments to the speed or whatever to make it safe. 15. before making any major changes or adjustment. Disconnect the power. Pull the plug from the wall. Don't just turn off the switch and say, well, that's good enough, because it's not. Switches can be bumped. Switches can short out. Always pull the plug. Okay? You can also disconnect the power at the circuit breaker. You don't have access to the circuit breaker in my classroom. It's back here in the storeroom. It's off limits to you guys. If we have to turn off the circuit breaker, we hang a sign on it. So the next person comes along and goes, oh, this breaker's off because of whatever. And you hang a sign up there that says, do not connect or don't connect. So people will stay safe. I will tell you a quick story about a case where that was not done. Colorado Interstate Gas, Richmond, Kansas. A line crew was out checking gas pipes and they found a leak in the line. They called back to the gas plant and said, hey, shut down such and such line, and so we can make repairs. And they did. The crew dug up the ground. They were down in the ground fixing a leak on the gas line. Somebody in the plant walked by doing their job, noticed such and such line didn't have the proper pressures, and proceeded to make the necessary adjustments and turn the gas flow back on. It killed 4 men in less than about a minute after that line was turned on. If they had just hung a sign, if they had used the lockout tagout procedures, which we'll discuss that later in another section, but just simply hanging a sign, do not connect, those men could still be alive today. All right, next one. Minor adjustments should always be made with the machine turned off and at a complete stop. We've said that twice in this lesson already. Make sure the machine is completely stopped. Okay? Not just turned off. Work in a well-lit area. We have plenty of lights out here. Every now and then, I turn off a row or two just because they are bright. But when we're working with equipment, every light will be turned on. All right? Make sure everything's turned on. 19. Back to our little Cinderella dance. Keep your balance. Don't overreach or put your weight on a machine. Don't stretch across there. If it's too far for you to reach, cut out there, stop, turn the machine off, walk around to the other side, turn the machine back on, and finish the process. If it's truly too big for you to handle, get my help. I will help you out, and we'll do it safely and correctly, where everybody goes home with everything we came to school with. All right. 20. I know I'm going through these fast, but you can always replay the video if you need to. Check the condition of the material. The wood must be clean and free of defects. Make sure there's no paint, varnishes, any type of hardware in it, screws, nails, hinges, before you try to cut that wood. Always make sure that it's clean and free of defects. 21. Wait for the machine to come up to full speed before cutting. Cordless drills period. People have a bad habit of setting the drill bit down on the project, then turning it on, and the drill can't get up to full speed, and it makes it hard for them to drill. You're going to mess up the hole for one. 2, you're going to overheat the drill, possibly even burn out the drill. Let the machine come up to full speed before it starts working. Every machine has an operational speed. And if you go below that, like I said, you run the risk of burning things up. 22. Use an even, steady pressure to make a cut. Don't try to force it through the machine. Take your time, make a nice, smooth cut. You'll get a cleaner cut, a much more professional-looking cut, and to be honest with you, it's going to take about the same amount of time. Because when you overload the machine, you have to back off, let the machine catch back up on speed, and try to finish the cut. Take your time, nice, steady pressure. 23. If the material is too large or heavy, ask for someone to help you. Ask for them to tell off for you. You ever had your grandfather or your dad out cutting a piece of wood and they say, hey, hold the end of that board for me? And when you reach out there and hold the end of that board, you're in the tell-off position. All you're doing is supporting that project so they can do the job safely. Ask for help. No, guys, you're not Superman. You can't do it yourself. Ask for help. Even I will ask for help. All right, 24. I told you there was a few of them. Get permission to use special setups, jigs, or attachments. And when you do set them up, before you ever turn on the machine, I have to approve it. I want to make sure it's attached correctly, make sure it's safe to use, make sure you have everything in its proper place. Let me make that decision. All right. Number 25. Don't let anybody distract you while you're operating a machine. The worst thing you can be doing is be cutting through a board and somebody holler your name and you look and you put your hand into the blade. All right. Pay attention to what you're doing. Don't let anybody holler at you. Somebody from across the room hollers your name, you ignore it for right there. Okay? You pay attention to what you're doing. You will be thankful later that you will go home with these. 26. Use a piece of scrap wood or push stick or a push broom to remove scraps from around the cutting tool. Never use your hands or fingers to clear dust away. Remember? We talked about that in the previous lesson. Always use a hand brush, push stick, something to clean that table off. One thing you don't do is take a deep breath and blow. If there's something heavy there, that stuff's going to blow right back in your face. We use a hand brush. We got dustpans. We got trash cans. We got everything we need to take care of that. 27. Sorry, my notifier's going off. You may be hearing it in the background. Stay out of the danger zones when somebody is using a piece of equipment. Remember, what is our danger zone? I told you in the previous lesson how to establish the danger zone. Remember I told you if you can stick your arm out and they're outside your arm's length, they're outside your danger zone. They have to stay out there. I'm the only one that's allowed to come inside that danger zone and help you. Understood? I hope so. 28. When you're finished with a piece of equipment, turn it off. Stay with it until the machine has come to a complete stop. Not coasting down, not sitting there just running really slow, but stay there until it stops. Okay? Because you don't want somebody walking up behind you and laying the project down and getting their shirt sleeve caught in a bandsaw because it's still moving. All right? First thing was they should have their sleeves rolled up, huh? All right, 29. Remove any special attachments or special cutting tools that you may have used. If you put a special jig onto it, it's your responsibility to take it back off, not the next person that's coming up to the machine. You do a special setup, you are required to return the machine back to its normal state. Okay? Take everything off and put it back where it belongs. Use a broom to clean up off the equipment and sweep up the area around the machine. I hear this every year. Mr. Nelson, we have custodians that's supposed to do the sweeping. No, you made the mess. You clean it up. All right? If you can't clean up the mess, you won't be allowed to work in my lab. It's that simple. All right. I know that's a lot of things to go through. You should have a handout that you can look at. I would take a few minutes, read back through the handout, and then go ahead and take the test. If you have any questions about any of these rules, you know where to find me. I'm here in the lab somewhere, and I'll be happy to help you out. All right? Good luck.